Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Masks Off. I'm Kim,
And I'm Tia.
and we have an interesting episode for you today. But first, let me start off with a quote. So, this quote is by Gary Zukav, and he says, "Every intention sets energy into motion, whether you are conscious of it or not." So let me just start by telling you all that typically Tia and I, we talk a little bit beforehand and we try to think about and prepare what we want to talk about in each episode. And we had something prepared for today and we started talking this morning and we said, nope, that's not what we're talking about today.
Nope.
We weren't feeling it. We weren't in alignment with it because all of these other topics have been coming up, all these other words and topics have been coming up. And so we decided to completely let go of the other topic we had planned and we moved into this one. So what we want to talk about and what I just outlined a little bit is manifesting, that we are manifesting all the time, whether we're manifesting positive or we're manifesting negative. So just like the quote says from Gary Zukav, every intention sets energy into motion, whether you are conscious of it or not.
Exactly. So it's not just, oh, I want this or I want that. We are internally making decisions for our life that we aren't even aware of some of the times. Actually, a lot of the times, really.
Yes. And I think it can be confusing because I know it was confusing for me, this whole manifesting idea. I just always thought it was the vision board.
Exactly.
Just get your poster board out, put your picture of your sports car, of money, right, the mansion, the fancy house. And that's what I thought manifesting was. Like, let me just manifest all this amazing stuff.
Right.
The secret, right? I mean, here's where, and this is why we wanted to talk about this today, because, I read The Secret when it first came out like 3 times. And in my mind, I was trying to I want
make it happen.
Make it happen. Make it happen. And I swear none of it happen.
No. Even though you had a beautiful vision board, didn't you? Like right above your desk.
Oh, I did.
So you could see it every
all
day.
The pictures.
The words, everything.
None of it happened. So I truly did not understand. And I don't think that The Secret really did a great job of it anyway, which is why they got a lot of kickback about it.
Right.
So then I started to share with you this morning how things have been coming across my radar and how things can manifest. So one of the writers of The Secret is Dr. Joe Vitale. And so like I was sharing with you before we started recording that I came across one of his workshops it was being advertised on Facebook, I think. So I ended up signing up for it because I remember him from The Secret. So I thought, that's interesting. Let me just see.
Yeah.
And so that was my first introduction to, even though he created that course in 2009, I think, and he wrote the book Zero Limits, how he did the course with Dr. And again, I'm probably going to botch up the pronunciation of everything, but for those of you out there who are familiar with Dr. Lynn, I think it is. And they were talking about, can you say it? Ho'oponopono.
Oh, we probably should have actually
looked that up.
Even if I know what it is. I don't mean disrespect or anything.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I would still, even though I've heard it pronounced properly and how to do it, I still would mess it up. But it's like Ho'oponopono.
Hold on. Yeah.
And while you're checking that, I'll just continue to tell the listeners
Ho'oponopono. But again, I don't know.
Oh, Ho'oponopono.
Ho'oponopono.
Okay. So there's this, I still would botch it up because it's still such a tricky one to say. But what I'm trying to convey is that within the last 3 weeks, how many times from different people that has popped up.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were saying earlier, there is some the universe is trying to say to me, Kim, you need to learn a little bit more about this, because I've heard it from 3, maybe 4 different directions from completely different like people. None of them are
Interesting.
connected.
And
So
you've never heard of it before either, from what you said this morning. So this is
until like 3 weeks ago, never heard of it.
wow.
And I asked you heard of it. All the other people, yeah, I've heard of that before. I'm thinking, where am I? I'm in the dark ages. But anyway.
You just weren't ready to receive it yet.
I was, okay. So
So I'm sure you've heard of it, but you weren't ready to receive it.
Exactly. So that's where the saying comes from. The student must be ready and the teacher will appear, right?
Exactly.
So that's a little bit about what's been coming up for me. But going back to the quote, to bring it back, that we are manifesting all the time, even the things that we don't want in our lives, we're manifesting
completely.
right. Do you have any examples of that?
To think of examples, I'm sure there's plenty, but I mean, all we have to do is think of like, oh, why is this thought coming back into my mind? Why is this person poking my inner child again? It's because we're continually putting out into the universe, subconsciously, unconsciously, that we haven't learned that lesson. So we're inviting the same people, the same situations for us to, hey, here's another redo. Are you gonna learn from it? Are you gonna look at it? It's just an opportunity to either continue on the same road that you're on, or is that opportunity presenting itself and now you're choosing to pivot, to change your perspective, to go within. Because if we're not going within and we're not in alignment and learning and growing and consciously changing our thoughts and our beliefs, our life is going to stay the same.
It's going to feel like the hamster wheel, right? Going around and around.
Here
we go again. And then because I've done it, I've been there. When the same thing keeps showing up, I felt like such a victim. Like, why is this always happening to me? And how many people do you know and have heard people saying like, oh, I've heard the saying, I have a black cloud following me all the time. Like there's literally no black clouds. It's not happening.
Or, oh, I always have bad luck.
I always have bad luck. Like as if it's on the outside of the person.
Exactly.
When it's never on the outside, it's always on the inside.
It's what we're attracting. And that's where like the secret got it right, per se, not right or wrong, but like they did go into that piece, I feel fairly well, in the law of attraction. But I think it's also important to remember that the black cloud people, the bad luck people, the story that they're telling themselves, there's also good things happening all the time, but they're not remembering them or acknowledging them. So rather than attaching, per se, that's a whole other thing, even though I don't want to say that word, because when we attach, that's not necessarily healthy either. But they're not noticing the things that they're manifesting that are positive. They're focusing on the negative things they're manifesting. So that's where your attention grows. What's the quote?
Yeah, the quote. So I guess maybe Joe Dispenza says it a lot, that energy flows.
Thank you.
Where your attention goes.
Yep.
And so, and so many wisdom teachers use it. Tara Brach uses it all the time. It's just wherever your attention, and there's so many things going on in my mind right now, like so many thoughts, because there's so much to talk about when it comes to this. But what you were just saying about, the thinking about all the negative things, the person seeing all the negative and not seeing the positive, that also goes back to what you and I have been talking about a lot, is the brain, the primitive brain. We are wired. So just to help listeners and viewers, and it reminds myself to not beat myself up if I'm always looking at the negative, or when I used to look at the negative, because we're wired that way.
Right.
Completely
Completely survival.
For survival. We have to always be looking out for the predator and looking for the negative. Like, where is it? Am I going to be attacked? So that's why, even again, now, fast forward many, many, many years, that part of our brain is still very much present. Even though we have a prefrontal cortex now and it has physically evolved, we still have that limbic primitive brain.
Right.
And so we're looking for the negative all the time.
And we need that part of our brain too. It
for
serves
real
us.
fear, for real danger. Yeah,
Right?
real danger.
It's we don't want to get rid of it. We just want to be able to discern it more and take that ownership of like, oh, thank you for trying to save me. And this is not a mountain lion, so we're okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So maybe we can talk a little bit about then, like, what the internal process is, because we are so conditioned to just look on the outside and think that it's out there. And that if we want to manifest, we have to really go in, right?
Right. Instead, so removing that focus that everything on the outside controls us, it's actually the opposite. Things aren't happening to us. We are creating, and so it goes back to the talk we did about co-creation and 100% responsibility. So you'll notice these themes and what we talk about, it's all intersected. It's all intertwined. It's not one without the other. It's all together. And so that going within and alignment within means taking and having that awareness, 100% responsibility, co-creation. What's my perspective on this? Wow, my perspective has all these lenses and filters from all that conditioning. Are they true? Are they serving me anymore? Because that's another piece we haven't really talked about a lot, I don't think. Maybe we have in way earlier episodes, is our reactions, our thoughts, our beliefs, they were there to serve us at one point in time. So we can't beat ourselves up for the negative belief we have, or the victimhood, or all those masks that we wear. They have been there to protect us
completely.
And so we do want to honor that process is there. And now we can decide we have a more deep connection to our inner self. And again, this takes time, but now it may no longer serve us. It may still serve us from time to time. If you're at a social event and you're just like, oh, it's too much for me, I can't be me. Okay, put on a mask for a second. But then you're consciously aware of it. And obviously, eventually it'd be great if we could not have them at all. But we do live in a world where we have to survive in the world that we're in. We're not on a little commune on a mountain.
Exactly. So should I share my example then of what I had to do?
Yes.
Okay. So I know. So one of the things that has been for a long time and probably served me at some point, I don't know how, but it's always been difficult for me to receive, love, admiration, anything like that. I'm just more of a giver than I am of a receiver. And I do believe that it goes back to when I was a child, of feeling my needs were not important.
Right.
I had unmet needs, and most of us do. Most of us have unmet needs. So now we are going back to the inner child work, right? How that connects.
It's all a play, right? We can't,
you can't not talk about it.
Right. Exactly.
You have to bring it. It just all interconnects, just like you said. So when I was a child, I felt like my needs were not worthy. So then therefore it became very difficult for me to receive. And I just learned, it was a learned behavior. Well, I just have to give. I give.
Yep. And when you gave, can I ask?
Yes.
To interject. But
yes.
And when you gave, then you got attention.
Yes.
About, oh, that was so nice. So you were able to get those needs met, even though they weren't the core needs. You got
there was
feedback from the giving, where you didn't get feedback from receiving. The feedback from receiving oftentimes when we're kids, it's like, oh, you're so selfish. You're so, all you care about is this or that, so when we aren't taught how to receive in
No.
a loving way, it can easily shift to spoiled or ungrateful. So why would we receive?
Right. You would think it would be such an easy, natural, organic thing to condition for children, but it's not. We're not taught that at all.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. So there was a payoff when I got feedback for giving. So that's why I kept doing the giving. Yeah. And then, like you and I were saying earlier, just as women in general, mothers, we are naturally nurturers. So we give like that's our role, is to just nurture.
And then society elevates it. In order to be a good mother, you sacrifice.
And just keep giving.
Yes.
Right. So there's been this long-standing pattern of me giving, and not receiving, and being very uncomfortable with receiving for the very reasons that you just mentioned. So fast forward to 2 days ago, I'm in this challenge. I'm doing a workshop or in a group, and the challenge was to post on Facebook, which I very rarely post anything on my personal Facebook page anyway. I'm just not one to be a big poster. I like to follow, but I don't post. And the challenge was to put on Facebook, it's actually right here, that I had to post, I'm opening myself up to receive more love and appreciation. Please tell me, what are your favorite qualities about me? And when Monday is 2 days, go ahead.
I want you to share the rest of that post though, whether you do it now or after you share now, because I think that's an important.
And then I did. Yes, I did put down right after that. I did put FYI. FYI. This is extremely, something along the words, it's extremely difficult. I'm very uncomfortable doing this, but I know that I need to do it anyway. I knew that I needed to do that for my growth. I felt so much resistance to doing that activity. Like, super uncomfortable with it. I can still feel that feeling. And the, challenge was put out maybe 3 days ago, and it took me 2 days before I could actually post that. And then once I typed it out, I sat there.
You didn't hit post for
I didn't hit send right away. I'm like, should I not? And I really hesitated, but then I just knew that I needed to for my growth. So things
you chose discomfort.
I chose discomfort over comfort. I mean, I cannot do these episodes with you and do these programs and not grow from them. Like, it's just amazing that we're doing this together. So I'm super, super grateful. So I went ahead and did it. And then, as I shared with you this morning, even after, you yourself put a beautiful post, and just people posting, really beautiful comments about me. And it still is hard for me to let that soak in because I'm so not used to it.
So what was your response when you first started reading? Did you read them as they came in, or did you go avoid it for a while and then come in and read a bunch?
I did the first one. I'm like, oh God, I think you might've been the second. I'm like, I don't know. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I didn't right away, didn't want to read it. And then finally I did. And then I was so aware so we can talk also either in this episode or the next about self-awareness again. And we have been talking about this inner work, but I had to be so self-aware of what I was feeling. First of all, I have to be aware, acknowledge, accept, and then I can change it. So when I was reading it and I was aware of the fact that I was struggling to let that in. So then what does that mean? Why am I resistant to letting it in? What I got to underneath was the feeling of unworthiness. I don't deserve to have that kind, who am I to have people think such nice things about myself or about me. You know what I mean? It's an old belief from
and we
way,
don't
way, way
see
back.
ourselves that way.
Exactly.
In the way other people see us often. So when you read them, what thoughts popped into your mind? Did you go to, oh, that's not true, how do they see that? Or were you like, wow? So I mean, like, what was the inner dialogue going on?
It was
in your
more
head?
of that. It was more of, wow, I'm surprised. Like, I don't see that. How do they see that about me? Like, I don't see it, you know?
Yeah.
That was the initial like dialogue. And then I had to just sit with that. And then because I have been doing a lot of work on my inner self, then I was able to gradually, you know, say, okay, no, that is true about me.
Mm-hmm.
That it really is, you know, and then I could let it sink in a little bit more. But initially I couldn't. I was like, how are they saying that about me? That's not true.
I was going to say, or did you even go like, oh, they're just saying that to be nice? Or so, did you have any thoughts similar to that? I'm just because I'm trying to think of like what listeners might be going through, what I have gone through similar exercises in, you know, in the past. And
like I almost a little bit of that, like, oh, you know, even thinking to myself, I did have a thought somewhere of, oh, somebody might just, you know, post something because maybe they're a caretaker or you know, people pleaser and just don't want me to feel bad. So they'll just put something down to just be nice. You know what I mean? And it's not true or not authentic, you know? So there was a teeny bit of that too.
Yeah. And I think what's really, I mean, you know that we already talked about it before we started recording. I love that you did that. I think everyone should do that if they have never done that in the past. It's a very uncomfortable thing to do.
Very.
But it really makes you have to face a lot of things, you know, that negative self-talk. No, it's not true. Wait a minute. Why would they say it? You know, so it's a really powerful exercise to notice your internal dialogue.
Very powerful.
And then it's really important to remember that people love sharing amazing things about other people.
I know.
I mean, you do that all the time, right? I mean, it's super easy for you to be like, oh, my friend X, she's this and this and this, and I'm just so grateful. So why can't other people do it for you?
It's the limiting beliefs. It's the old patterns, you know, it's the old tapes.
Right. And then there's that receiving aspect of, because I'm sure you've been, you know, you've said something nice about another person. They're like, oh, no. I mean, how many times do we all do that? Someone pays us a compliment and we blow it off.
Yep.
And I had a teacher from years ago, and I can't remember exactly how she described it, but she's like, imagine someone gives you a gift and you blow up, you know, the gift of a compliment, or like, you are this incredibly kind, deep listener, and you blow that off. And so the person who just gave you that gift is standing there like, it's not owning that person has a valid experience, whether you believe it or not.
100%.
When we put up that wall, it's not just putting up a wall to ourselves, we're putting a wall up to that person. And then it's that, depending on the person, they can internalize and be like, well, am I reading the person? You know, is my gut wrong? But this is how you make me feel. So should I not trust my feelings?
Oh,
so there's a lot of
point
stuff
to bring
in that.
in.
Receiving, when we don't receive, we are shutting off ourselves and the other.
Shutting off ourselves and the other, and shutting ourselves off from the universe.
Correct.
Right? Because if the universe is, so this is why it was so powerful and so important for me to do the activity. And again, for anyone to, it's so powerful, like you just said. But because now that I've done the exercise and I'm moving past those feelings of resistance.
Yeah.
Right there, going back to what you said earlier in the episode about the lessons. Now there may be a little bit more of that lesson that I have to learn, but for the most part, I feel I've come on the other side of that. And then the healing takes place within me. So now my energy is open to receiving. and now the universe can send more my way.
Right.
And that's what manifesting is, right? If I want to manifest more of what I want, if I'm more open,
Right.
I can then have the universe I can attract it. Like
Right.
attracts like. That's what manifesting is.
Right. And you
like
can
attracts like.
receive those gifts, and you don't even need the other people. I mean, and that's a whole nother thing. It's a lovely exercise in noticing, but we don't need other people to validate us on the outside. And we can talk about that more in another episode. But so it's an exercise of self-awareness. Is more like when I did that exercise, I don't know, a few years ago, that's what it was for me. It was like, oh, it's amazing people see me this way. Is it true? What are the thoughts within me? But now you don't need it in the same way, because you start to internalize. Not that we don't have misalignment and go into negative. I mean, because they're my favorite thing. I call myself when I'm making you dumbass. I still do that to this day. I mean, it's just the internal talk that I have had forever. But then I can remember, you know what? You just made a mistake. You just screwed up. You're not that. And then there's the other part of, so we're so open to that negative in a different way, because that validates our negative thought process. And the teacher who I did this, not that specific exercise, but the gift piece is there's the other part is like, and especially in this divided world we're in right now, someone says, whether it's around politics or Corona, vaccines or, treatment, there's so much negativity right now. And people like, it's my way or the highway, and you're this or you're that. I mean, I've seen language that is, lumping people into these things. So you could post something, just for an example, and someone could make a negative comment, or you invite a kind, like, hey, have you ever thought of, or whatever that experience you have, and someone throws something negative at you, you don't have to take that gift either.
Nope.
So you can say, no, that's not me, that is yours. So the projection, I mean, that's a whole nother thing we can talk about. But it's what you're talking about, is that internal. So we can choose what to take in that others are throwing at us. But we have to start with the internal. So does it match with what we are opening up to the universe? Can I receive that? Because that is more of what I want. And there's I'm on a little rampage right now, but
no, go, you're good. Go.
But there's that other piece of, so they throw that at us. It gives us an opportunity to say, is this mine? And is this something I want? Even if it's uncomfortable, like as you received, and we're slowly able to integrate and take these very truthful, beautiful things about you, which are real.
Yes.
So
they were beautiful.
But you could say, can I see this in me? And is this something I want to embody and put out into the universe? Because you can see it in others. Why not in yourself?
Exactly. It's so true. So, and just to kind of say that it's not like an automatic thing. What is more automatic is that someone shoots something at you, and the arrow sticks. We talked about arrows last time, and it triggers something within, the wound within, and usually then it's a reaction. Even if what's you just said, what's coming at you is something positive, there may be like this wall of, you can't let that in because you don't feel it's true. So or something negative is coming at you from someone, and that one does go in and it hits the wound, and it's now the arrow's stuck in that wound. Either way, the bottom line is going in and healing. Right? And because that's what, exactly. And that's what's been allowing me more and more in my life to manifest more of what I want. And that's what we're going to talk about in the next episode, is how to get more of what you want in your life, and what what it takes and involves to get that.
And all the deep layers of that manifestation. I mean, we covered so many things just now, and it may sound for our listeners that like that was super scattered and
yeah,
a
it feels
lot,
a little, yeah.
But if there's
so
one thing
much
that resonated with you, start there.
Exactly.
And we'll just continue to keep this conversation going,
Yep.
because I think it's really
and
important.
Go deeper and deeper.
Mm-hmm. It's a big part of your inner growth is understanding who you are and your inner.
Yeah.
And that I just think the receiving is such a amazing piece of manifesting too. It's hard.
I never thought of it that way. I never realized. And that's why I'm, again, going back to, how just that course came across my radar, just how that was manifested. And why did that come? Because the universe knew that I needed to heal this part within.
Yep.
The universe knew that I struggle with receiving, love and admiration and adornment. So in order for me to just heal myself first and foremost, but then to heal my relationships, with in my life, right? Because even if the people that are very close to me in my life are telling me how much they love me, or, you're a great mom or whatever. And if I'm unable to let that in, then there's a disconnect between myself and my loved ones.
Exactly, because you're not able to receive.
I'm just always giving.
And when you're not receiving, you're putting that blockage up.
Yeah.
And that whole universal energy, it's not a line.
Exactly.
It's a circle. It's a reciprocal or a spiral, however you want to envision it, that works for you. But it's in and out, round and around. It's not out there. I send it out and nothing comes back. No, because how can you manifest if nothing comes back to you?
I know.
And it could be, and we could be missing all these opportunities of hello, I've tried to manifest this for you, but you haven't taken it yet.
Yes. And that's what I was thinking of earlier when we were talking about our businesses and stuff. There may be so many opportunities, but if I'm not willing to receive them, because I'm putting up a little wall of, no, I'm not ready. I don't want to do this quite yet.
Right.
I've got some limits here. I've got some conditions, universe.
Exactly.
So it's in that case, and this one, maybe we can save for the next one. Am I missing out on those opportunities because of my resistance, my limits, my conditions?
The thoughts and the beliefs that are
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so much to talk about.
Oh, I know. I love it though. I get all excited and riled up because it's just so exciting to talk about this stuff.
That's
so
awesome.
we'll wrap up this episode. And we do hope all of our listeners and viewers that you're able to grab something today. You could follow us. Just our excitement. We're so excited.
Right.
There's so much to talk about. And again, if you have any comments or questions, or you want to hear something more specific from today, do leave us a comment. We really appreciate all of the support. We see you listening and viewing, and we're super, super excited to have all of you with us.
Very much so. All right. Have a good
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye.